Hi, my name is Indy, and today I'm going to give an impromptu speech. I have not prepared for this speech at all. I haven't even looked over the topics that are concerning this speech, so it's just going to be a quick impromptu. So here we go. Let's get started. Our quotes are, knowing others is wisdom, knowing yourself is enlightenment. Do or do not, there is no try. And the third one is, be a yardstick of quality. Some people aren't used to an environment where excellence is expected, by Steve Jobs. I'm going to go with the first one, knowing others is wisdom, knowing yourself is enlightenment. So I'm going to start my prep time here, which is going to be 2 minutes. I'm going to time it so I have a good idea of how long I have. And right now I'm just forming a couple topics, subtopics, kind of getting my outline together here. So you have about a minute left of prep time. Okay. So I am ready. I will stand and present my speech. So knowing others is wisdom, knowing self is enlightenment. When I first think of this quote, I think of the wise old owl. So I think of wisdom being old Al out of the movie Bambi. And I love this movie as a kid. I grew up watching Wise Old Owl. I also have a daughter that's 9 now, so I spent a lot of recent years watching Bambi over and over. Wise Old Owl to me represents this very authentic character that gives guidance. So an owl to me has a sense of wisdom. And he's wise in the context that he sheds light on areas of darkness. You go to him, or he comes to you when you need help, when you are kind of, bumped up against a situation, a circumstance in one's life that may be challenging, that may be difficult, and you're not quite sure what direction to go. So you turn to the old owl, and there's wisdom within that. That sense of wisdom that the owl carries for myself, and I'm sure for other people, has this depth to it. It's knowledge that comes through experience, really life experience. And so that typical quote of knowing others is wisdom is really being observant in your community, being observant in your family, and really knowing people, other people that surround you, and really knowing by being and having experience with them. Now, is that important to you, to know others? Is that wisdom to really know others in that way? I don't necessarily know. I think knowing people in general, knowing humanity, knowing behaviors of people brings a sense of wisdom or self, knowing to a situation. So if you have a depth of how people live, how people react, behaviors of people, I think it helps you or me as a person to make particular judgments, to know when to move forward or when to step back. Secondly, knowing self is enlightenment. So when I think of enlightenment, I do think of the Buddha. So owl to me represents wisdom. The Buddha to me represents enlightenment. And right when I hear this word, I can just see that beautiful, statue of a Buddha across temples, or, in people's gardens, or out in their front steps, or in their homes. And this Buddha has this sense of protection to me. So in this context of knowing self is true enlightenment. So what does enlightenment mean to you? I think to me it means being peaceful. It means having this contentment in yourself that you don't need anything else. You don't need to be anywhere else. It's this kind of elevated state of knowing, of being, where you are completely and totally secure and in this moment, just knowing that everything is in the right place at the right time, and you have no grasping, you have no struggle there. It's just you, and you're comfortable there. You're totally, truly yourself, who you are, who you need to be at that very moment. And I think that's very important in the context of knowing yourself, because is it really important to know others, or to even focus on others, if you don't truly know who you are, if you don't spend time with learning about yourself? I don't know. I don't think so. I think in the context of this quote, for me, knowing myself would be far more valuable than knowing others. Now, is there wisdom in knowing how people behave? I agree with that. I think so. Is there true enlightenment by fully and completely knowing yourself? I agree with that too. I think you can have this elevated state of well-being, psychologically, physiologically, if you do know yourself. And to know yourself, you have to really spend a lot of time digging deep into who you are, and being with yourself, spending time alone, spending time quiet, spending time in meditation, in nature, and noticing your own behaviors and diving into those. So to wrap things up, knowing others is wisdom, knowing self is enlightenment. Again, when I think of wisdom, I think of this wise old owl, and he is valuable. It is valuable to know the behaviors of people that surround us, and especially of those in our lives, and know how they represent humanity in a sense. There is wisdom in that, and wisdom is important because we need insight, we need to understand. However, just that wisdom of shedding light into those dark areas, I believe that enlightenment does come from knowing oneself, and for me that's more important. That overshadows that wisdom of knowing others. So again, when I think of enlightenment, I think of the Buddha just sitting there on his throne, peaceful, content, just being himself, beyond suffering, beyond greatness, just no good or bad, just being in his moment, in himself, in herself. So thank you for sharing with me today. Again, our quote was, knowing others is wisdom, knowing self is enlightenment. Think of the L, think of the Buddha, and know yourself. Be enlightened. Thank you.